WPSP has launched the world's most comprehensive resource on women's leadership in public service, with data points for over 195 countries and territories, assessing women's leadership in executive, legislative, judicial, civil service, and national security positions worldwide. We have complete data measuring women's leadership across 75 countries. More coming soon. And today we are making public the first report measuring the pathways to women's leadership.
And as Dana said on a couple comments, this index is the first of its kind because it's the first to measure women's leadership across all 5 sectors of government. So not just the women presidents and the women in parliament and legislature, but women in public administration, national security, the judiciary, the executive, the legislative. So all 5 sectors. And it's also the first to measure representation in terms of not simply just holding the seat, right? Not just simply the numbers, but how do you get there and how much power do you hold once you're there?
Women make up 15.5% of the military in the U.S. and only 7.1% of all the U.S. military generals and admirals. Women are 83% of all librarians in the country.
You know, in the military, for example, you know, if promotion criteria favor combat experience, and women until recently were excluded from combat, at least officially, even though they were in combat, in fact. But that would be a barrier to promotion and a barrier to leadership, and therefore you'd sort of top out at a lower level in a lot of cases. Similarly, you know, there used to be substantial barriers to women becoming senior foreign service members or senior intelligence service members or ambassadors. So it was more of a question of access to promotion and sort of equity in the promotion process as opposed to pay equity at a certain grade.
So when we say we have a policy that's going to put women into positions of leadership, what are the kinds of policy choices that you're going to be making? What are the questions that you ask when you design a policy that makes sure that it has a gender-balanced impact? So not only are you getting women into positions, but you're actually developing an understanding of how to create gender-balanced policies so that the work that you do, whether it's putting women in leadership positions or building roads, has a gender-balanced impact to it. So I would suggest that any country in the world, any place where you want to be working, you need to be thinking about building and creating that culture.
But especially also the cross-cutting issue in that strategy, which is close to my heart, being a man in all of this, is how to involve men in gender equality as well. You know, the he for she thinking. I think that's an important cross-cutting issue as well.
India is a country that lives in several centuries simultaneously. We have people living back to back in the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st century. And her people, at any given time and place, encapsulate all the contradictions that come from being a multi-religious, multilingual, multicultural society. And so it is with the position of women. We have had a woman president, we've had a woman prime minister, we have several chief ministers who are women, we have women in very important leadership positions, but on the other hand, it is also true that 70 years after independence, there are only 10% women in parliament. Not because able women do not exist, but because they have been kept out of the pale of politics by various interests.
But the 2030 agenda is also a call for a data revolution to be able to monitor progress on the goals and targets. Through the prism of our partnership with the Wilson Center, we see the Global Women's Leadership Initiative Index as a unique tool for the production, analysis and reporting on data on gender equality in the public service. And we already see great progress in uncovering these data and evidence that is needed to get policy recommendations and programming right.